I'll let you recover, and then we'll go.
Okay.
Welcome to Trekommendations, the show that helps you to navigate through the enormous Star Trek universe and find some hidden gems. This week, helping me out is my wonderful guest from Trekking Up North, Michael Goodwill, aka Captain Goodwill of the USS Adequate.
Thank you so much for having me. I am super excited to be on.
Yeah, it's so funny to hear you so calm.
So instead of manic and frantic like I am
Exactly.
on most days,
Yes.
the caffeine has wore off, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm quite zen.
That's interesting. Oh, I'm excited to see where this goes now. So let's jump straight into it. And it feels weird to call you Michael as well, but we'll go with that. Michael, as you know, I like to
Yep.
start this show with some calibration questions, just in case people haven't been watching your podcast and they don't know your tastes, especially as you guys review a lot of episodes and are, very clear your opinions on them. But here's some questions for you anyway. My first question is this. Obviously, we have tea, Earl Grey hot, coffee, black. Captains have their beverage and people know what it is. As the captain of the USS Adequate, what would be your signature drink?
There would be two signature drinks. As a true northerner, if I'm in a penchant for tea, it would have to be Yorkshire tea, milk, two sweeteners, because no true northerner would ever go anything but Yorkshire tea. However, as I am probably an insanely busy person, it has to be coffee. It has to be a cappuccino, a nice frothy coffee with a splash of chocolate. Although, let's be honest, a Ractagino does sound good on a morning, doesn't it?
You know that's the drink that I want. I mean, that is
Oh,
the drink I'm determined to have at some point. I don't know how we're gonna,
have you ever tried it?
no.
There's an actual recipe for a Ractagino, and it's essentially a mocha on steroids, and it is so good. It's a mix of like a mocha with cinnamon and a few other spices. It will wake you up on a morning. I
Okay.
guarantee
Well, I mean, I don't need to hear your recommendation now because I've already got one from you, so that's what I've been looking for.
it.
Um,
Okay, thanks so much for coming on. Then we'll see.
no, that's good. So I like. I'm trying to think how you would speak to the replicator, and it's something like cappuccino, frothy, dash of chocolate.
It doesn't sound very stoic like Picard. Picard's like tea, Earl Grey, hot. I'm like cappuccino, frothy, sprinkle of chocolate.
Yeah, but
It,
I
it
think it
sort of
works.
takes away sort of it takes away the air of command, doesn't it, when you're wanting a frothy coffee?
I don't know. I hear people saying, Star Trek's become a bit too dark, a bit too bleak. Where's the positivity? I feel a captain that's drinking frothy cappuccinos could be a step in the right direction for many people. So
Well,
never say never.
for those that listen or watch Trekking Up North, they know we have the finest cocktail bar in Starfleet, and it is always a martini in the captain's hand. Even when they're on duty, it's a non-alcoholic one.
Oh, Simple, you'll be fine. Yeah, absolutely fine.
Yeah,
A-
Synthahol.
and I have to say this before we go on, despite the fact that I was born in Southampton, so as far south as you can go, and I'm still living in the south of England, downstairs in my cupboard is Yorkshire tea, just so you know. Just so you know.
Yes, there was another ally.
Right. I'm amazed how much we got from that question. That's wonderful. Next question for you. What character's career post the series they appeared in would you most like to follow in a new show?
Miles O'Brien. Hands down, the greatest Starfleet member of Starfleet who ever lived. We know that was established in Lower Decks. A long-held conspiracy theory on Trekking Up North is that the most evil entity in the Star Trek universe is, of course, Keiko O'Brien, Miles' wife. We want to know why Miles did not appear in season 3 of Picard, because he would have fixed everything within 3 episodes. We wouldn't have had much to do, to be honest. He probably would have refitted the Enterprise D quicker than Geordie. But for some reason, he was not there. I believe Keiko mysteriously held him captive. Again, a prisoner. Does this man ever catch a break? I think we need to find out what happened to Miles. Did he go back to the academy? What happened? there's more to tell there, and I think Miles O'Brien is easily one of the most underrated characters in Star Trek history.
I mean, that's an excellent answer. I love it. No notes. We'll move on. Brilliant. Now, I know you've done a lot of streaming today. I know you're a big gamer. So obviously, this question is for you. What would be your dream Star Trek video game?
Oh, it's already there. It's Star Trek Online. I have poured in easily 6,500 plus hours into this game. It is quite literally the best Star Trek game that's out there at the moment. You have ships, you have combat, you have a world that the developers have meticulously developed over the last 15 years. They've expanded on the canon and delved into those little minutiae details, little minutiae details. I don't even, do they call it minutia? I don't know. I'm incredibly tired. Those tiny little fine details in Star Trek history that we all wanted to know and expand upon. And I absolutely love Star Trek Online. I think if there is a game, if there was no other game to play, that would be it for the rest of my life. There's just something about being in the universe and living in that universe that is just so magical to me.
Yeah. I suppose then in dream scenario is just it getting a bit of a facelift and being kind of
Oh, absolutely. It is showing its age. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to. We did an interview with the developers of Star Trek Online recently, and we said, look, come on, guys. Just little bit of polish, maybe an upgrade on the engine, make everything so beautiful. It is already beautiful, but obviously it is an old game, and just to see it with modern graphics and modern gameplay, I think, I would never leave the house, even more so than I do now. I would never leave the room. It would be absolutely amazing. It's just the perfect game for Trekkies, I think.
Mm-hmm. I have had to delete it multiple times off of various systems and consoles to enable me to continue some functioning life. So
you've done a Janeway, computer delete the wife, but you just deleted Star Trek Online, yes.
pretty much. Okay, excellent. Well, I think we've got a nice calibration set there, Michael. So this is good, which means it's time for me to add a clock to the screen. Find my clock over here as well. So hopefully you're ready for this because it's crunch time again. Please,
Oh
in
God.
60 seconds or less, could you tell us what is your Trekommendation and why you've brought it to the show?
My Trekommendation is collecting starships from the Star Trek universe. As you can probably see from the background with my little flotilla here, I love everything there is about starships, especially Federation starships. There is something eloquent about their design. There is something so poetic, so fluid about how they are constructed and how they are meticulously built. I collect starships. I have collected them for far too long. I have spent far too much money on collecting them, so much so that my fans know I have what is called the Wall of Bankruptcy. In it contains too many ships. Too many ships. My house insurance hates me. There are too many ships, but there is just something so beautiful about the way they look, the way they sit on the shelves, and just the evolution of the design of starships.
What timing?
Oh,
That was like dead.
oh,
Dead
dead
on. Wow. That's I think the closest we've had. You
on.
guys are getting really good at this. Really good at this. Excellent. So I'm gonna pin you down just this is my usual catchphrase these days is I'm gonna pin you down just for the episode art. Can we have a brand that you would recommend that maybe is the one that you currently or one that you seek out on eBay even, I don't know. Who are providing, in your opinion, some excellent Star Trek ship models?
At the moment, it would be Fanhome, who have reintroduced the Star Trek Starships collection to the wider populace. Before Fanhome, it used to be Eaglemoss, who unfortunately went under in 2023. There was a little bit of a gap, and then Fanhome stepped in to continue the model range. Eaglemoss had been doing it for years, since 2012. So there was easily 11 years worth of models, and you're probably thinking, there can't be that many Star Trek starships. You are wrong, my friend. Seek out Memory Alpha and then come back to me. They continued the line and quite cleverly focused 99% on Federation starships because those were the big sellers. So at the moment, they've been out for exactly a year, and they've covered Star Trek Picard, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Star Trek Prodigy. So at the moment, as you can see behind me, I've got the beautiful Enterprise G. I have the Voyager A, the USS Stargazer from season 2 of Picard. I cannot recommend them enough. If you love starships, if you loved collecting stuff, those are the guys to go to 100%. Absolutely. Don't care about money. Don't worry about the money. The joy that you will have by having these beautiful ships adorn your house is just worth every penny.
Yeah. And your family will feel the same. They will be just as happy.
I live alone, thank God. It is, yeah, it used to be an issue in my old house, but then I got a bigger house, so I had more space to buy more. But yeah, the wall of bankruptcy has become famous. So I have the wall of bankruptcy here in my office, and then here is the shelf of mild destitution.
Okay.
So whenever we review an episode, the relevant ship will be on the shelf of mild destitution. To represent what we are reviewing, and also just to show off my models because I'm so vain.
See, I hadn't noticed that. Now I have to go back and now I'll keep an eye open for that because that's a little detail I
If
wasn't
it's an
aware
next
of.
gen, we of course have the Enterprise D. If it's Voyager, we have Voyager. If it's Strange New Worlds, we have Starbase One in the It's just a tiny little detail that I like to have in the background so people go, oh, look, that's the ship he's got there. And it's like, yes, I own everything.
Yeah, because I'd noticed you would put uniforms on according to the episodes that you're reviewing. I hadn't
used
noticed
to,
the ship.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to, and then I discovered the lack of exercise, so I do need to get back to the gym and defrump at the moment because this is the only uniform that fits. But I do like to cosplay. So whenever we review a specific series, I like to make sure I'm as close as possible to that uniform. I'm very much like Ellie from Trek Culture. I do love a good uniform.
You love a good uniform. I mean, this would have been this has been a calibration question before for others, but do you have a favorite uniform?
It's the First Contact grey.
Yeah.
It is the First Contact grey. There's something about that uniform. When First Contact first came out, I was 9 years old. It was the first movie I ever saw in the cinema, and it was just magical. It gave me a phobia of eyes, which is fun. But the uniform was, I just think it's timeless. You know, you look at it now, even 20, 30 years later, and it's a timeless design. It's like the monster maroon of our generation. It's just, it's absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. And I finally purchased one last year, and I felt so proud. I felt so proud wearing it.
Yeah.
It is. I wish they'd never changed it. I wish they'd gone 50 years with that uniform like they did with the maroons.
Well, yeah, the maroon just had a massive time span. It just sort of existed for, it seemed like, for an organization that loved changing uniforms on the regular, that the fact that they kept that one for so long, I mean, someone was in charge.
The last 10 years, we've had 50. Yeah, we've had 50 different uniforms in the last 10 years. Whereas the Lost Era, they were like, it's fine. It's good for another 50 years. They were clearly, I think the uniform designers of that era were clearly Northern English people because they were like, nope, there are no holes left in it. It's good for another 30 years. It's fine. It'll wash.
Yeah. Well, the grey is the only uniform I have that I can wear. See, I have got that, so that's. But I'd like to get a better one. I'm not super happy with the quality of it, and it's quite tight as well.
Yeah.
But that's.
It's tight for you because you're so muscular and fit, and it's tight for me because I discovered crisps. So,
I mean, I know it's a joke, but it's also true because it is tight. It is tight on the chest and the shoulders. So thanks for the compliment. I appreciate that. It's nice to know my hard work has paid off. And it is something that I bought years and years and years ago, and then spent quite a few
Yeah.
years in the gym, and was like, oh, that does make sense. It doesn't fit as well. Um,
There
that's
needs to
good.
be a muscular fit in Starfleet.
Yeah. I do have a question for you then that and then we will get onto models. But as we're just doing a little bit of
Yeah.
uniform chat, because I don't want to use it as a calibration question because I try to have them all quite positive. Um,
Yeah.
what's the worst uniform?
Hands down. Hands down. And it's only
Oh,
because we are reviewing this on.
I kind of want to write my answer down, and then after you've said it,
Okay.
see if we've got the same.
Okay, have you got your answer?
I
Have
mean,
you
I
got your
know my
answer?
answer. I have firmly
Okay.
fixed my answer.
Okay. This is purely because we are reviewing this movie 1 minute at a time, and I have to
Right.
really bore the brunt of this. The motion picture uniform is the most unflattering, unappealing, most disgustingly coloured uniform I have ever seen in the history of Star Trek. It leaves nothing to the imagination. You can tell exactly what type of change the officers have got in their pockets, and it just. Do you know what it reminds me of? When you were a kid and you had those all-in-one pajamas that had like a flap at the back. It reminds me of them. And the running joke in Star Trek is, oh, they're walking around in pajamas. They literally were in the motion picture. And you're like, oh, come on. Come on. Oh. Admiral Kirk's uniform? Perfect. Everyone else's? No. Just no. And you never see one at a convention. Have you ever noticed that? You never see a motion picture uniform because everyone knows they are awful.
No, you do see Kirk's one. You're right. You see that, but that's the only
Hmm.
one. That is a very good answer. It wasn't my answer, so that's so
Oh, what was your answer?
so my answer would be the uniform we see. We only ever see it in like future forwards kind of things. I think we've seen Nog wearing it. We've seen Harry
Oh,
Kim wearing it, and Janeway. It's the one like in the finale of Voyager, the future that,
yes.
and to me, it is because they look like loose fit pajamas. They are horrible and
Skin
unflattering.
tight. Oh yeah. No, look, guys. When you get to the age that I am rapidly becoming, you can't wear stuff like that. You can't. It shows everything. No one wants to see that. You can't command respect when there's bits wobbling. No, you can't.
Okay, very good. Well, back to ships. That's what we were actually
Mm.
talking about. That's the main thing. So what I found interesting was you made a little comment there about you love ships, wonderful. Particularly, you said the Starfleet ships and their
Yeah.
design. Um, and but then you also double down on the fact that that's what has sold best. So that's not just your opinion, but tends to be the.
Yeah.
Uh, do you think sales wise, it's because people love the design more, or because they are the hero ships of the show, and so they tend to do well?
It's a bit of both, really. So there are a collection of alien ships that always do well. The Bird of Prey, the Romulan Bird of Prey, the Romulan Warbird, etc., etc. But the Starfleet ships always sell big because they are the hero ships, and they are the human design ships, shall we say? So we identify them as the good guys, and we understand their designs. They are less alien to us, and I think Fanhome really knocked it out of the park. So with their current run, the only alien ship they have done is the Shrike from Star
Right.
Trek Picard, and that is a stunning ship. That is a stunningly beautiful ship. But they have really doubled down with the Starfleet vessels, and it is just there is just something about them and the way that they're designed. And if you understand the people behind them who design them, it makes you appreciate them more. So, for example, I'm a huge fan of Doug Drexler, John Eves, Dave Blass, who worked on production on Star Trek Picard. But John Eves created the Enterprise E, and the Enterprise E is probably one of the most beautiful ships ever created. You've got Rick Sternbeck, who designed the Enterprise D, which is an iconic legend. Matt Jeffries with the original Constitution class. There's just something about them that you can feel their passion, you can feel their dedication to their craft, and everything is executed logically on a Starfleet ship. Whereas an alien ship, you don't really have to worry about it because we don't really understand their alien technology as much. We don't know why the Klingons do what they do. We don't know why the Romulans do what they do. But for a Starfleet ship, there is logic to the function of everything on it.
Is there something about the design then that like speaks to you? So like, I guess obviously the you know the whole kind of saucer section is the obvious sort of identifier for the majority of ships, the nacelles, things like that.
Yeah.
What is it about the design then that sings to you that you're like, oh, you know, this is what I love about these ships? You're saying they feel inherently human in the Star Trek world. Can you kind of put your finger on what it is that makes them that way?
It's the design language. It's the one thing I love about Star Trek ships, Starfleet ships, shall we say, is there is a consistent design language from the original series all the way up to modern day. And you don't necessarily have to have a saucer section. It could be spearhead shaped or oval shaped or anything like that. It's just the consistent design language and the continuity of that. And it's the strict rules that Jeffries and Roddenberry and everyone back in the 60s said, this is why we design ships like this. This is why we have a saucer section. This is why we have 2 nacelles instead of 1 nacelle or 3 nacelles because of this. It's the inherent scientific principles behind the way that they are designed that just makes them so special to me. And what I love the most is when it was revealed that the USS Titan was revealed in season 3 of Picard. A lot of people ask, well, why does it look like the old Constitution class? Why have they gone back to this design? And it's the logic behind. I mean, this is a TV show. This is a TV show, and the people behind it will sit and they will go through and meticulously explain why this looks like this, why they've gone back to that design. And what I loved the most was someone asked Doug Drexler about the design of the Titan, the Neo Constitution class. And they said, why have you gone back to a saucer when the Enterprise E had like a spearhead shape and the Enterprise F had a spearhead shape? And he said, the logic behind it is this. Starfleet noticed that when ships were falling planetside due to an accident or whatever, the saucer would flip upside down due to the aerodynamic inconsistencies of the spearhead design and cause more fatalities and more casualties. Whereas a saucer section, because it's got a wider surface area, was able to be more air resistant and land more gracefully. And then I sat back and I thought, yeah, that explains Star Trek Generations, the way they just, I mean, it didn't land daintily like a butterfly, but it sort of landed a little bit less harsh. And I'm like, my God, you didn't have to provide any of that explanation, but you took the time to draft that up and explain it because you just wanted it to look like the old Enterprise from the movies.
Yeah.
It's insane, but it's that level of dedication, that level of passion that goes into them that just really, really draws me to these ships. And it's the, I mean, people collect figures, people collect props. I collect ships because, above all else, the ships speak to me. The ships are the real heroes of the show. I mean, even in the Next Generation contract, every single actor knew, because it was written in the contract, the Enterprise is the hero of the show. And you can just look at them. Look at them. They are so beautiful. And they are, they just have a personality.
Yeah.
I think they just have a personality.
I mean, I do think what's great is that the test is always a silhouette, isn't it? It's like you can see a silhouette of the ship and you immediately
Yeah.
know not just, oh, that's a ship from Star Trek, but if you just saw a
Yeah.
silhouette of the D versus a silhouette of the, you know, the original Enterprise,
Yeah.
immediately you'd be like, oh, that's that's the original one.
It's
That's the
iconic.
D, you know, and then
Yeah.
depending how deep you've gone, you'd know, you know, E, F, so on.
Oh, yeah.
What I love about the
Oh,
answer
yeah.
to that question as well is because I think the paramount executive answer to that question would be, well, we had a couple of movies that used the original Enterprise sort of general design, and then we had
Yeah,
Strange New Worlds, and that was again Enterprise, and so basically, once again, in people's minds, like general public, when they think about what a Star Trek starship looks like, it's a big disc, and then like a line underneath it,
yeah,
and then two lines at the back. That's a Star Trek ship for
yeah,
Joe Public, um, and that
yeah,
would be enough of an answer for people to go, that
yeah,
does make sense. But the fact that they've doubled down on a, and here's the real world explanation as to why, in universe that
yeah.
would be the thing. I think that is a level of, that is a chicken and the egg situation. Like, which came first? I think I know which came first, but I
Oh yeah, it is sheer passion and love of the craft that really resonates with me, and to sit with Dave Blass and John Eves at STLV and go through the design of the Enterprise E and the Stargazer and everything like that, their their eyes light up. These are fictional spaceships.
Mhm.
Maybe they were models, but these are fictional spaceships, and they have poured more heart and soul than probably most designers of cars and boats and aeroplanes will ever do. And it just it you the proof is in the pudding. You look at the design. There was a meme I saw. I think I posted it the other day where it's Star Trek fans. Oh, we don't care if the same actor is in three different roles, but then also Star Trek fans, and it was on about the difference between the Enterprise E between Insurrection and Nemesis, and people were like, "We don't get it," and I'm like, "I do. The pylons were raised by X amount of degrees, and it had this, and it had this, and it had this," and I'm like, "Wow."
You're like, it's me. It is me.
It's me. It's me. Yes.
Yeah, they're speaking my language. No, it's great. I mean, it's interesting. It makes me, the conversation makes me think about my own thoughts on the ships and how much have I looked at, and it
Mm,
is a kind of thing. With the last episode we were talking about Lego and making ships and stuff like that, and I was saying when I was at Lego World with the kids, and there's just a whole map,
mm.
box load of just random Lego pieces. What did I make? Of course, I made a
Yeah.
starship. It was like
You
the
made a
first thing,
starship.
right?
Yeah.
And and
Yeah.
so it is sort of ingrained in my subconscious that's, or if I'm like doodling stuff like that, like
Yeah.
inevitably eventually there will be a starship there. It won't be
Yeah.
very good because I'm not great at that kind of thing, but there is something about it that I will draw that, probably that and a delta. They're kind of the two go-to sort of
Yeah.
things I
It,
doodle.
I think above all other sci-fi franchises, I think Star Trek inspires more people with the ships
Hmm.
in that universe than say Star Wars or any other one, because of the iconic designs, the simplicity of the design, yet the like the intricacies of it as well. And it's just it's wonderful. It is absolutely wonderful.
So do you have some ships that obviously you've got kind of, we've talked of like the hero ships and the
Yeah,
the big stars of the show. Uh, are there other ships
yeah,
that you particularly designed that you've really liked and that you've been like, oh, I hope they'll
yes.
make a model of that if they ever do?
So amongst the fans, so when Star Trek First Contact came out, they needed, very much like the Best of Both Worlds, they needed a fleet to fight the Borg. So with Star Trek First Contact, they built a whole horde of new starships to fight the Borg cube in the scene for Sector 001. One of them was designed by John Eves, was the Akira class, named after the Japanese anime movie Akira, which is cool in itself. Come on, you name a starship after an anime movie, that is badass in general. But for years, it established itself as the fan favorite ship. It was never at the forefront. It was never. There was never a series taken place on
Mhm.
one. There was never a ship named Seeds or anything like that. But it just became ingrained in the psyche. And luckily, they built years ago, they built a model of the Akira class, the USS Thunderchild from First Contact, and this is, what the USS Adequate looks like, because I thought I need a ship that is old by today's standards, but still looks badass,
Mhm.
but has a silly name, USS Adequate. And this really did not get prominence in Star Trek. Even though it'd been there for 30 years, it didn't get prominence until Prodigy in the season 1 finale, where they had that massive battle scene,
Right.
and they really fleshed out how the Akira class looked. And it is just such an iconic design. It is just every single angle of this, it looks badass, it looks aggressive, yet it looks quintessentially Star Trek. And the one thing I truly love about this is this very ship, this minor role in Star Trek First Contact, inspired the NX-01 in Star Trek Enterprise.
Right.
This is what Paramount Pictures wanted the NX-01 to look like. Exactly. They went through the files and went, we don't really need to design a ship. There's a ship there. We'll just flip it upside down and we'll call it the Enterprise in 2151. It was only through Doug Drexler and the production team where they went, no, you will not. And he just hand built a brand new
Yeah.
starship, which became the NX-01. But you can
I
see
was
the
going to say you
elements in
can
the
see
NX-01.
the sort of
Yeah. So you can see that if you do that, that's rudimentary, the NX-01. Okay. So you can see the design elements he took from this. So again, this minor low poly rendering starship inspired an entire ship in Star Trek Enterprise hundreds of years prior, and has just became this massive cult favorite in Star Trek fandom and in Star Trek lore. And it is just, I don't know, that hands down, that is my favorite. Bar the hero ships,
Mhm.
that is my favorite design. It is stunning. It is, and you think that is a 30-year-old design, but very much like the Enterprise refit from the motion picture and the Wrath of Khan, it's a timeless design that it's just so easily recognizable to Trekkies.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great answer. I mean, I'm glad I asked the question now because that was we learned a lot. Went on a journey. Um, I
A
th-
tangent. I never do
I
tangents. I don't know
think
what you
I
mean.
need just to check that I've got the right name now because there's a ship uh, that I quite like. I really like the Steam Runner.
Yes, the Steam Runner class, the USS Appalachia.
Mm.
That was in Lower Decks. That again, that was a first contact ship, a low poly ship that appeared years later, 30 years later in Lower Decks and got a featured thing, and in Picard season 2 as well.
Yeah, and so that's the ship when I back in the days of lockdown when we were
Yeah.
all trapped at home. One of the things I tried
Oh,
to do to keep people entertained was run a Star Trek Adventures campaign, and that was the
yeah.
ship that I decided the crew would have. They would be on a steam run, just because I just loved the design of it, and
It's
nothing
such a
else
unique
beyond that. I was just
design.
like, oh, that's such a cool design. So I love that. Um,
Yeah.
I do have a question for you, and thank you for holding up the other model nice and close. I'm guessing was that a model then from? Is that technically a Prodigy model or?
So this was so Eagle Moss, who
So
previously
it was an
did
Eagle
the
model. Okay,
Starships collection. They already made a smaller version of this for their normal run, but then there was such a demand. They then did a what was called an XL model range
Mhm.
that Fanhome have now continued. There was such a demand for a bigger version of this ship, and this
Yeah.
is it here. And it became one of the favorites of the manufacturer's runs. And this one is the first contact version. So
Right.
obviously it's an upscale version. They went back to John Eves and said, can you essentially provide as much detail as you can, and then we'll get a guy to rebuild it. So this is as accurate as possible to the first contact one, to the point where the name is not featured on the front, just like the one in the film. So normally you would have the starship name in the registry. This has no name, but everyone knows it as the Thunderchild. And again, thanks to Dave Blass and Doug Drexler and Okuda and everyone like that, in season 2 of Picard, it finally got a name on screen, and they called it the USS Thunderchild. And it's those tiny little details that are just insane to me. I'm geeking out. I'm so sorry.
But I think that's good because, you know, we established at the outset that it's a lot of money, right? To buy these models, to have this hobby, like it costs you money. I'm thinking about, is it Maria Kondo that was like the one just getting rid of everybody's stuff, going around people's homes, and it was that whole thing of, if it doesn't spark joy, like then you shouldn't have it in the house, and she was like decluttering everybody's houses some years ago.
Oh, this sparks joy.
But this is it. Like when you talk about them, and
Yeah.
what I find fascinating is it isn't that just you walk into the room, you see them on the desk, and you're like, oh, you know, I love my ship. But it's
Yeah.
how it's feeding into your fandom, the way you can. I mean, just listening to you speak, inherently, the way you consume Star Trek is not the same way that I do,
Mm.
because like seeing that name on the ship would not have given me that level of joy and satisfaction that it gave you. When I saw the steam run,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's nice to see it. Like, you know, I have
Yeah.
that like degree of joy. I'm like, oh, nice to see a ship
Yeah.
that I like, that probably most people watching this wouldn't know the name of that type of ship. That's great. But it's, you know, I feel like it's no different from somebody watching Lower Decks getting really niche references because it was a, you know, from a Star Trek board game that they played, you know,
Yeah.
years and years ago, right? And they're like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
that's for me. For you, it's the ships, but it's amazing how it kind of cross pollinates between the joy I have of just having these models and looking at them, and you know, collecting them, and that sort of scratching that collector's itch on that side,
Mm-hmm.
and then, I mean, the fact you know who's designed them, you know the story behind them, you know how it's, you kind of know the both like the in-universe lore on design, and the
Yeah.
in in real world kind of, I mean, that story about the NX-01, like that's
Yeah.
fascinating, and that all just comes from. But then it's nice that they've made it that you can then have it, like sure, it's just something accessible to you.
It's just it
I mean,
it
obviously they don't
I
care about
look
your
at the
bank balance.
wall.
Clearly, that's
Oh God, no! And it is frightening. But there is Star Trek for me. So I shocker. I didn't really have many friends growing up. I was a lonely child. Didn't really have many friends. Star Trek was a second family. It was an extension of family. And when I look at these ships, I am reminded of that happiness, that joy that I experienced as a child watching Star Trek, experiencing these adventures for the first time, and they bring back memories. It's like, you know, compare it to your first car. Your first car is always the car that you love because it gave you the freedom. You know, you went on adventures and you made memories. To me, that is the same for these ships. I look at the Enterprise NX-01 and I get very tearful, very sentimental over Star Trek Enterprise. I look at the Constitution class, the original Constitution class, and I get reminiscent for when I first fell in love with Star Trek as a child. Then the Enterprise D, enjoying the Next Generation, DS9, the Defiant, Enterprise E, the first movie I ever saw. It brings back so many nice memories, comforting memories, and joy that whenever you feel low, you can look at these and go, I remember when I first saw that. I remember that movie. Oh, I like that design. And it just, you look at the Enterprise D, I put the Enterprise G and D there. That is season 3 of Picard. That is Vox
Mhm.
straight away. That is the D leaving space dock, and that unbelievably iconic music that has transcended any other Star Trek. And that's the memory it triggers. And it's wonderful. But then I look at the Akira class now and I go, First Contact, video games, and now my own podcast. And it brings me joy for an entirely new reason, because I am the captain of the USS Adequate, a rundown Akira class ship that's infested with geese and has the best cocktail bar in Starfleet.
Well, someone's got to. um, on that note, then, a final thing I'll ask you, because I'm curious about this, because when you talked about the kind of the way the designs build on each other and how inherently, you know, they
Mm.
follow a pattern and there's a real world logic to, and all of that, and your reactions to them, I would love to know how you reacted the first time you saw the Defiant.
So the Defiant was, I mean, I was young. I was young, but I mean, spoiler alert, guys. This was 30 years ago. I am old. But seeing the Defiant for the first time in DS9, it was like it was a completely different type of starship. It looked like a tank with blue nacelles. It completely threw me. But then they just essentially it doesn't really have. So if you look at the Enterprise D, I'll give you an example. The Enterprise D, you've got a saucer, dorsal spar, engineering hull, nacelles. It's an iconic design. From the side, you can tell it's the Enterprise. Put the Defiant on its side. Only few people will know that that is the Defiant. Put it looking down at it from the dorsal, it's the Defiant. It was such a unique design. But again, they went back to the drawing board and went, how would Starfleet create a warship? Well, they'll make it small, maneuverable, they'd hunker the bridge into the center, and they would just make it like this kick-ass little punching bag. Not punching, like kick-ass little tank. And to see it for the first time, I loved it. It was so unique, and it just reinvigorated DS9. I mean, Deep Space Nine is an iconic series, and for those that have never seen it, I say go away, watch it, and then come back and tell me how it changed your life. From a ship point of view, it's the amount of ships we see in DS9. Oh my goodness,
They're always stopping by.
But it is just, it's an iconic little design. And it was so unique for Star Trek at the time. It's a tiny, tiny little ship with bunk beds and no holodeck and no nothing, but they made it work. And again, I really want a bigger version of that. That's the one ship I don't have a big version of. I really want a bigger version of the Defiant.
Well, I was going to ask as a final question on ships, is there a ship that you are like either waiting for them to make, or it exists but you just haven't been able to get hold of it? Is there the white whale of starships for you, something you really want? Okay.
Yeah, and it is ludicrous. So back before Fanhome, back before Eaglemoss, there was a company called Diamond Select or Art Asylum. They built the bigger version. So this Enterprise D here lights up, separate sources, has sound effects, yada yada. They made those types of ships, and they did it for 15 years. So I made it a priority. So they made the hero ships, so that we have the original Connie, the refit A, B, D, E, Excelsior, Bird of Prey, yada yada. They never made the Enterprise C. Okay. Until they announced that they were going to do, and I thought, oh, this is brilliant. My collection will be complete. It will be beautiful. And then they lost the license. They had lost the license to produce these ships, and the Enterprise C was scrapped. And to my dismay, Eaglemoss had made an XL version of the C that I had passed up on because I was waiting for the Diamond Select version. And now if you go on eBay or anything like that, it's about £350 to buy a model of this size. Yeah. Okay? That is ludicrous. So luckily, my good old boys at Fanhome have found the original molds, and they're going to be reproducing the Enterprise C very soon. And I will finally be able to finish my collection of the Enterprises, because I have everything. And I only have a very small C. It's about this big, and it just looks pathetic between the B and the D. So I'm very much looking forward to getting the C. And then it will be complete. And then lo and behold, they'll probably come up with the Enterprise H and the I.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a long way until we get to Z, so you've got still quite a few more ships to make sure there's space on that wall.
Yeah. I need a bigger house.
Yeah. Well, when we hear you're moving again, we'll know why. Okay. Well, Captain Goodwill, Michael, it's been lovely learning all this about ships. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Of course, as much as I've enjoyed having this, I always give the opportunity to my guests to ask if there is an area of the fandom they would like some specific recommendations about. Is there anything that you haven't dived into as fully as you would have liked?
Yes, so my co-host science officer Sonoy's is absolutely fascinated with Bajoran culture and Bajoran religion and Bajoran history. This is something that I would absolutely love to explore. Because I think out of all the alien races we've had in Star Trek, I think Bajorans are the most fleshed out in Star Trek. But it's not something that I've truly taken the time to explore, and it is definitely something that I would like to find out a lot more of.
Okay. So any kind of content that's going to be focused on that, something that can, like a great book or a great comic or a great something that could just give you that detail.
Absolutely.
Lovely, great answer.
I want
Love
to
it.
know how to measure my par. That's what I want to
Yeah.
know. I want to know what my par's like.
Yes. Yeah. And then you start just walking up to people and grabbing their just what are you doing?
And then the restraining order's coming. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I've seen the people that do like the cosplay and they can make the nose ridges just
Mm.
like by doing makeup. So they're completely flat, but it's just like an optical illusion. I think that's incredible. Like to do that. I don't my
There
brain
was
doesn't understand how that works.
there was one destination in 2019 in Birmingham, and she came as a Kai.
Yeah.
And she had the full Kai costume with the ridges and everything, and I was just simply blown away by it. Just that the Bajoran, when you look at the Bajorans, I mean, it's literally just the nose ridges, but it's the eloquence in their costumes, and it's so ornate. It just blew me away that someone had took the time and the effort to create something like that.
Well, we started talking about Star Trek Online at the very beginning, and my two kind of characters I've played it with the most were either an Andorian or a Bajoran. They were the sort of the two that I'd usually go between. So
I,
yeah,
I, I really do. I have an affinity for Bajorans, and it is an alien race I really want to know more about.
yeah. Okay, very good. I love that answer as well. Well, excellent. Thank you so much for beaming aboard my ship and just I hopefully the adequate's all okay and you'll be able to get back to that. I did have
There
a
is
thought
there is so
earlier.
much geese poop.
Right. I had a thought about because I noticed that a lot of podcasters are captains apparently. So I had Captain Schoff on last
Yeah.
week. I've got Captain Goodwill this week, and I thought maybe I should start calling myself an admiral and just outrank everyone. I bring them all on.
Someone needs to control us.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you all come and debrief me, so I kind of feel like that's my role.
Yeah.
So
We have no management structure. We need some sort of authority. Yeah, I've got geese on deck 6. They're in the hangar bay. There is so much geese poop on the runabouts. I can't clean it. We have no windshield wipers on these shuttlecrafts, folks. We need an admiral. We need authority.
or you need Miles O'Brien. One of the two. One of the two will fix everything.
Or a wet wipe. Either way, we need to get this sorted.
Excellent. Right. Thank you so much for coming on. We've mentioned it quite a lot, but you've got your podcast. So if people want to follow
Yeah.
you, I know you've got quite a few things. So do you want to quickly just list out where people can find you?
The main podcast is, of course, Trekking Up North. You can find us on YouTube. I am also the co-host of The Dry Dock on Clone Star Podcast, and I am also a Twitch streamer because evidently sleep is a myth, and I am proving that you will never need it.
Yeah. You're like Dr. Phlox. You just need sleep cycles and then you'll be absolutely fine. And you can just run ahead.
I'm working on the big smile as well.
Yeah. Well, you're doing well. You're doing well. Excellent. I am also on, yes, most platforms. I think pretty much everything in Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of those good things under Trekommendations. So if you're not following me there, you can do so. If you've just popped along because you're a big fan of Captain Goodwill, well, stick around. There'll be other good guests, I'm sure. And maybe even if we're very well behaved, Captain Goodwill will come back. So never say never. But once again, thank you, Captain. Thank you, everyone that's stuck around and watched or listened. If you can, like, share, write a review, do all the stuff to help help the algorithm and help get this in front of the eyeballs of people that will appreciate it. I would appreciate that. So thank you very much. I'll be back next week with another guest and another Trekommendation.